Is there any pre-advance purchase necessary to meet Chris, Justice, Chad Bearden, and Rick Kojan?
No.
Okay, excellent. So let's make sure all our fans know that. That's number one.
So I went wide open, hoping for a little taste of that unknown, living in a fast car, living in a fast car days.
All right, we are back for another episode of Checkers, Wreckers, and What the Heckers.
What the heck?
Things are getting back to normal as promised. I've got the guys back on board. I got rid of my wife and my little one, and it's
You
back.
don't mean that literally, right? That sounds terrible.
No, not literally. Not literally.
Right, Chris? What were you thinking?
Way to clean that up.
Yeah.
What's that dude saying? Come on, you're a much nicer guy than that. Come on.
I appreciate it. Thanks for the help. As always, the man, the myth, the legend from Haas Factory Team, the at-track VIP coordinator, and the best hair in all of NASCAR and the Southeastern region, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Rick Kojan.
There he
What
is.
up? I got the shirt on today. Make it easy. You don't even need the introduction. They can read it for them damn selves. What's up?
I like it. And from the fastest man in North Carolina, the fastest team in all of NASCAR, the best looking man in all of NASCAR, ladies and gentlemen, the at-track IT coordinator for Hendrick Motorsports, Mr. Chris Justice in the house.
Wait, thank you. It's a good thing to be back. I missed you last week, man. We had just the schedules was crazy.
Yeah, but we're gonna get caught up.
People
This is Charlotte Part 2. Was very excited to have my wife and my little boy on for Part 1. So let's talk Coke 600. Let's start this thing with.
Can I ask you real quick before you start?
Yes.
Is there any consideration to replacing Chris and I permanently with your wife and your kid? And we understand if it is.
No, she is really pretty and he is really cute.
Yep.
But
and you don't use the words pretty and cute with me and Chris?
No.
Okay,
no,
let's
you
move on.
You are two good-looking guys, but
listen, I just wanted to check my worth to this little program. So go ahead, go.
Yeah. All right, so let's get into some 3 wide. So follow up to the All-Star race where we talked about things you got to do to meet your favorite driver. I want to give a shout out to Taylor Kitchen from Above the Yellow Line. She posted a video showing the different things that you had to do to meet your favorite driver at the Coke 600. So to meet Chase Elliott again at the Coke 600, you must buy a diecast once again to meet Chase Elliott. To meet your favorite Trackhouse driver, so Ross Chastain or Daniel Suarez, SVG, you must purchase at least $50 of that specific driver's merchandise. So you can't even cross. No, not just Trackhouse merch in general. Must be that specific driver, and then they give you a wristband to meet that driver. All the other teams, not all the other teams, many of the other teams required you to have a wristband, but no purchase necessary. First come, first serve, and then all the other teams were just first come, first serve. They were signing for whoever showed up for as long as they could. So
that's how it should be.
So that was the rundown for that. Thoughts on that, fellas?
I think it's horrible that you have to have a purchase price to say hello. I think it's horrible. Bad business plan. My opinion. I wouldn't spend $50 to get the same thing I just bought signed. Just saying.
Yeah. And if you want to meet all 3 of the Trackhouse drivers, you got to spend $150.
Why would you do that?
Hope you're only a fan of one of them. Rick?
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to fact check our story here. Is there any pre-advance purchase necessary to meet Chris, Justice, Chad Bearden, and Rick Kojan?
No.
Okay, excellent. So let's make sure all our fans know that. That's number one. Number two, from actual experience, I will chime in with Chris and tell you that we work out of the Ford Racing or Ford Performance trailer at track, the merchandise trailer. We call it the Ford Merch Rig. I will tell you that we require nothing to meet Sam Mayer, Sheldon. They usually appear together, and the line forms around the back of the trailer and just get after it. From the Cup side, when Cole Custer's there, I look at the board and I see like when Ryan Preece is coming up, Noah Gregson, yada, yada. So all those Ford drivers coming out of there, if there's anything to do with wristbands, it could only be because of the popularity of the driver. They're trying to maintain a line. And let me tell you what else they're trying to do. They're trying to maintain the driver's schedule.
Right.
So there is a schedule. Like Ryan Preece just can't be out there for hours. Not that he wouldn't, right? Or Cole Custer wouldn't. But we do have other places to take them. So
right. And I think
I at least get what's up with the wristband. And I hope fans understand that it's an allotted amount of time. But other than that, I am 100% in the Chris Justice camp. What are we doing?
Right. And I will say, like, so in the country music world, for me, like, so when I first moved to Nashville, I was a tour manager for a bigger artist. And one of the things that they would do was they would say, hey, we will meet anybody. If you come to our meet and greet, we will, and this was for this particular artist, we will meet anybody, we'll take your picture, but we will only sign things that you buy from our merch thing. That was partly because people will ask you to sign some weird stuff, like body parts, like all kind of stuff,
undergarments, things like that.
All kind of weird stuff.
Do you appreciate that our host is so humble that he doesn't name drop who the artist is that he worked for?
I like it. Much respect to that.
But and there too, I do know some artists who are not quite A-level artists, kind of B-C level artists, who they sell like meet and greets, things like that. And they use that to pay for the salaries of their sound engineers.
Yeah, like a road crew or something, right?
Yeah. So because they're not, their ticket sales are not enough yet that they can do that. And so that's why they're charging for meet and greets and things like that.
Well, I don't think Mr. H needs to charge diecast sales to pay for the salaries of Chase Elliott and or Kyle Larson.
I knew that was coming, and I'll back you up with, I don't think Justin Marks, who's one of the most innovative team owners reaching out. He's got Motor GP racing. I think he's pretty good on his marketing side too.
Right. And the fact that, I mean, my 5-year-old little boy, or my 6-year-old little boy, who thinks that now that Kyle Larson hung the moon and knows that he's flying in on a helicopter with his whole pit crew and his whole team, you can fly them from Indy and do all this stuff, but yet he has to go buy, a $70, $80, $100 or whatever it is diecast now just to meet him. Like that
takes the thrill away.
Yeah.
Strip that young man of the experience right there.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. Kurt Busch, Harry Gant, Ray Hendrick elected to the Hall of Fame. Humpy Wheeler gets the Landmark Award. Thoughts?
Oh, well, first time I heard that, but hats off to those guys, especially those older guys. The Humpy Wheeler's innovator, right? Had his mark in the sport, did great things for the sport, helped create what we have today. So, hats off for him making that Hall of Fame deal.
Humpy should have been in already. That's a layup. I mean, Chris says innovator. I mean, the guy was a promoter's genius on all the things that he put together. Kurt Busch, well-deserved. Handsome Harry Gant, well-deserved. I will tell you, I did not know that much, and I consider myself a pretty good fan, not a super fan like you, Chad, about about this northeastern based warrior, Ray Hendrick. And of course, the first thing, it's Ray, right?
Yes.
I don't want to butcher the man's name. Um, and there is no relation, because everybody thought so, to Hendrick, as
Right.
in the Hendrick that Chris Justice works for. But I guess this guy was number 11 and had like some signature flying 11s. And I was reminded that Hamlin, I think it was Hamlin, did a throwback to him at Darlington of this car. So the comment was, when you saw that red 11 come up, you knew you were in for something. So good for all those guys. I think that Hall of Fame is just a great thing, because it builds out the perpetuity of our sport and increases the education if you stop on down there and go see it in downtown Charlotte.
Yeah. The one thing I will say, and this is not a knock on Kurt at all, because I absolutely think Kurt is a Hall of Famer, but the fact and this is Kurt's first year on the Hall of Fame, so got in on his first ballot. But the fact that he gets in before Neil Bonnet, who was also on the ballot, just kind of baffles me a little bit. I mean, Neil's a guy who I think is a legend and did so much for the sport. So I really hope to see him in. Again, I'm not knocking Kurt at all. Congratulations to Kurt. I mean, he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame 100%. And I can't imagine.
Remember that it's a debate, or not a debate, but it's a democracy of votes,
Yeah,
right?
no, 100%.
So just like the three of us would have different votes. I think one of the issues is, as that voting contingent ages, much like myself, maybe it's easier to know and be relevant to voting for a Kurt Busch than it is for a Neil Bonnet. That's all.
Yeah, and I don't know that Neil ever had a championship, and Kurt does. So maybe that's the tipping point. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, Kurt had like 34 wins or something like that. I mean, it's got a
Oh,
pretty
I mean, again, I'm
Daytona
taking
500 winner. That car's in our lobby. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm and
17.
again,
Yep.
taking nothing away from Kurt.
Right.
I 100% believe he should be in the
it.
Hall of Fame.
I get
All
it.
right. This one, I don't know, Chris, if you need to weigh in on this or not, but William Byron signs a 4-year extension at HMS.
I think it's a good thing. I think Willie B's proven himself. I only been there a few months, so I don't have a lot to speak on. However, as a competitor for the past, up teen years, you watch the guy on the racetrack. He's tried and true. He's a solid racer. He wins. He contends for championships. So he's putting the stats on the board, right? So, hats off for him for doing all the right things.
Rick?
Oh my God! Can we just put this under layup and move on? I mean,
Yep, 100%.
The kid. Listen, good-looking kid, talented kid, non-controversial on track. Lets his car and his racecraft do his talking. Literally comes up through iRacing. Gets brought in. Kudos to the Hendrick talent crew for scouting. He deserves that 4-year contract and then some. I'll bet you Mr. H has no plans of ever letting that man go. Good for you. Good for you, Byron.
All right. Well, let's see if we can debate this one a little more.
Okay.
Kyle Busch re-signs with RCR for the 2026 season.
For a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's no seats open. There's nowhere else for him to go.
All right.
Where would he go?
Here is my thought.
Oh, God. Of course the homer's got some thoughts. What do you got?
I'm just asking you for devil's advocate. And listen, as a Kyle Busch fan, I have zero problem with him staying at RCR.
Go ahead.
I have zero problem for this. I'm just playing devil's advocate and asking, so if I am Jimmy Johnson and I'm trying to build championship caliber, and I want more support from Toyota, who I know loves Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch has won 2 championships for Toyota. I understand Toyota had a change at the top after Kyle Busch left. But if I am Jimmy Johnson and I'm trying to push forward, do I look at replacing maybe John Hunter Nemechek with a Kyle Busch and saying to Toyota, hey, I'll go out and I'll sign Kyle Busch if you help me more, if you give me more information, if you give me more support. Is that something that Jimmy Johnson approaches? Is that something that's even possible? I don't know. That was a thought that I had.
Maybe that's why he signed a 1-year deal. Maybe John Hunter Nemechek, and we're just throwing that name out there because you brought it up. Maybe his deal is up at the end of next year. And that puts you right there in a nice fill and replace, right, position, if that's the case. It is questionable why only a 1-year deal, right?
Well, you also have Dodge, who says they may be back in Cup by 2027. So that would be possibly a new team. NASCAR says they're holding charters for a possible, team for a new manufacturer.
A lot of variables then, right?
Yeah. For me, it seemed like something that would make sense. If I were Jimmy Johnson and I'm pushing hard, he's made lots of really good hires. Why would you not go get a Kyle Busch? Why would you not go get, a Rodney Childers to pair him with? Why would you not go swing?
Is Rodney the answer though?
I don't know. I don't know.
Now I'm just super fans talking because you're just throwing big names around.
Well,
and before you send John Hunter out the door, can I remind you of where he's running in points? Can I remind you of what his driver's salary probably costs versus Kyle Busch? And again, a lot of variables, like Chris said.
100%. I'm just throwing out the fact of, hey, does that give him leverage with Toyota? That was my only thought.
Oh, yeah. A seasoned veteran coming in, trying to help establish your program. I can see the leverage in that. Yeah. But, like we just said, there's a lot of different variables that can play into that of why he got a 1-year deal.
Yeah.
Fair. All right. Well, let's get into our checkers, wreckers, and what the heckers for.
Please, because I can barely remember Charlotte.
That's
so I'm
fair.
going to put a record on myself that I'm getting old and I forget stuff. So can we please get to Charlotte?
Well, hopefully you made some notes. Rick, do you have trucks, or are you just playing off everybody else for Charlotte?
Playing off all y'all.
All right. Chris.
All right, so I'll start off right here.
Do it.
I got a checker right here. And actually it's a 2-part checker. Number 1, you got the rookie, Ruggiero. I don't want to butcher the kid's name.
Yeah, it's Gio. Let's just go with Gio.
Gio gets his first pole. Outstanding. Hats off, right? But then Corey Heim shows him who's the boss and has a dominant day of 61 total points in that Charlotte race. That means he won every stage plus the race and had the fastest lap.
Yep. Let me read this to you.
That's called stinking up the show.
Youngest driver to get to 15 wins, sets a new record at Charlotte for the largest margin of victory ever in the history of the track. Swept all the stages and scored 61 points on the night. It's Heim time if there's ever been Heim time.
Listen,
way to speak to me, guys. I'm so sorry I missed this race and didn't dial in.
No, you're fine. You're all good. That's why we're a team here. We'll pick you up.
We got you. All right, wreckers.
Wreckers. Let's see. I don't really know. I mean, it was a good battle all night in Charlotte. I don't really have a true wrecker, I would say. Nothing really caught my eye during that race that was like, that's just horrible. I don't know. I don't have a record, to be honest.
Yeah, you talked about Gio. And my only wreck, and it was just the only real wreck of the night was the lap 71 wreck that took out Tom Majeski, Chandler Smith, Gio, Connor Mozak. It was the really big wreck that took out everybody, including the defending series champion. So that was the easy wreckers of the night. But great race. Other than Corey absolutely stunk up the show. What the heckers?
Ah, man, let's see. We had some mid-pack racing, some side-by-side stuff like, P6 through 15. You had some good battles in there. You had some guys that were, I can't remember right on the top of my head which truck it was, but you don't really see them often, but you see them right there in Charlotte in the top 15, battling in some cats that should be definitely top five. And that would be my what the hecker.
Well, thank God, because apparently there was nothing to watch up front. Go ahead.
It was not anything up
Good
front.
Lord. Good Lord.
The what the heckers for me. Kevin Harvick is a great race analyst. Michael Waltrip is a great race analyst. Joey Logano is a great race analyst. They're all great race car
Here it
drivers.
comes, Chris. Get ready. Who's he going to call out?
None of them are great, or none of them are even good play-by-play guys. The fact that Fox had no play-by-play guys or girls in the booth. Look, I love Jamie Little as a pit reporter. Don't love her as a play-by-play person, but she is much better than any of those guys. They had her in Indy working the Indianapolis 500. So they call in Kevin Harvick to do play-by-play for that race, and it was horrible.
I didn't really catch that. I'm glad you caught that. I didn't really
do not understand it at all. None of the guys, they're all analyzing the race and nobody's calling the race. And I'm not just saying this because the guy's my best friend, but they flew in Brent Stover from New York to call the ARCA race. He and Phil Parsons, who is also a good play-by-play guy, both are there in in the facility. They just called the ARCA race. You paid them money to be there. Let one of those guys come and call the truck race and let those other three guys be analysts. Like, what are you doing, Fox? This is the biggest.
Chris, I feel like our man Chad had to get that off his chest.
Oh my God.
That was therapeutic.
Listen, this ate me up. That was piss poor. Like the fact that you put no more effort into a truck race than that is ridiculous. That's my what the heckers.
I'm glad you got it off your chest. You actually look better now.
Chris, that's what we're here for sometimes, man. That's what friends are for.
Oh,
this is friends helping friends. Moving on.
All right, let's talk Xfinity. Rick, give me a checkers for Xfinity for the
Charlotte since race. I wanted to throw, a wrecker on myself for my bad memory, I have to just go with the obvious, which is you just talked about, and it's funny, right? Because someone stunk up the show during trucks. Apparently, I missed it yet again. Did someone stink up the show and get the checkers in the Xfinity race?
Yep.
Yeah. So, he wins both stages. He leads 71 laps. Another Hendrick car wins another Xfinity race, and this time instead of saying blank, Kyle Larson stunk up the show, now we fill in the blank with William Byron. He gets my checkers.
I mean, he did a good job. Really, he came from, had this pit road penalty for speeding.
He did. I ain't mad at him. I'm just like, but at the end of the day, as you're watching this race, it's like stage 1 winner, check. Stage 2 winner, check. Race winner, check. Stunk up the show, check. So that's my checkers. I'm done. I'm good.
Yeah, I had Byron for checkers too, just because he.
Oh man, come on. See?
Listen, he beat the odds with the penalty, right? Yep. And hadn't it been for the 17,000 cautions at the end, he wouldn't have won the race.
It was the same for me, but also Willie B tends to always have, like, when he dominates, usually something works against him and he ends up losing it. So usually when he gets a win, he leads the last lap for the win. Right. So yeah, I had Willie too. All right, give me your wreckers, Chris.
Our wreckers. It will be my wrecker will be I'm gonna go with the Allgaier staying out for me. Staying out, He stayed out, didn't take the tires.
Makes the call himself.
Makes the call himself. He wrecked himself on that deal right there. In my
That's a
opinion.
big one.
That was my what the heckers.
Wow, look at
Yeah.
you two.
That was my wreckers. Wrecked them.
Rick, what was your what the heckers?
Well, there was a
sorry,
lot of
wreckers.
carnage in this
Wreckers.
race, as Chris said at the end. You know, and cautions breed cautions. We know all that. I don't know why this one stood out to me, but in that carnage, one of them was, longtime veteran, a lot of race starts, JJ Yaley, ran slap into Catherine Legg. And I'm thinking to myself, I know we've discussed this on podcasts before, and I'm like, is it just that she's running in the hornet's nest? Like, can she just get a clean race? She didn't do nothing. She did nothing wrong.
No respect. That's what it is. No respect whatsoever.
Isn't it terrible? Dude, and again, listen, there was lots of other things I could have gone to, and you guys had some great ones. But that one stood out to me because I called her out one time as a wrecker way back in the beginning. And then after that, she started getting run into and taken out, things not of her own doing. She's trying to keep her nose clean. I'm like, come on, man. That was mine.
Mine was Brandon Jones bounces off the wall, collects Leland Honeyman and Ryan Sieg. And that pretty much set up all the cautions that followed after that.
That's true.
That's a good one.
That was my wreckers. Speaking of Catherine Legg, I saw some posts from several people on social media about her sponsor activation at the track, and lots of female positive responses to that sponsor activation.
I've seen it out there when we take our drivers out to the Ford merch rig. I absolutely know what you're talking about.
Yeah, good on them bringing in that female activation. Good job on them. What the heckers, Chris? You had
my what the heckers was her getting run over.
So no way.
All right, what'd you have, Rick?
Listen, we're not even in the same house, and I miss the dog. I honestly miss Dino, and I miss the cold blue moon. That's great. We're not even sharing each other's notes.
I'm like, how's she getting run over? She has nothing to do with it at all. And there she is, destroyed.
Jesus.
Yeah. All right, well, give me your what the heckers, Rick.
I went a different way. My what the heckers was, if you're keeping score, at the end of that race with Willie B winning, that became the second in a row Xfinity stink up the show by a Cup driver. Okay. Then I took it a step further because, I want to show effort into this show trying to keep up with you two. Do you realize that half the races in Xfinity have been won by a Hendrick / Junior Motorsports, and let's be honest, that's a close affiliation car. And I've got them. I mean, we've got Zilich, we got Allgaier twice, then we went Larson, Sammy Smith, Larson at Texas, Byron at Charlotte. Listen, when those haulers pull up, I think you best look at those Junior Motorsports cars and see if that ringer is running on the Hendrick side, and I think you got better than an 80% chance for your winner. That's what I'm saying. Get on your DraftKings and get after it. That's my what the heck.
All right, let's go Cup. Checkers. Go with it, Chris.
Checkers. Well, it's a heartbreaker, but I got to give it up to Chastain.
Yes!
From 40th to victory lane, right? Now, I hats off. That's
let
all
him go. Let him go, Chad. I know you're not a Chastain fan. Let's go.
Listen, he was there at the end. Do I think it was a little shady the way he was able to make the pass? It was a shady, clean move, I guess, if you want to have shady and clean in the same sentence. However, he was there at the end. He made the pass. He led the last 8 laps and won the race from 40th.
Listen, when I had my little boy on the other day, his what the heckers, and I coached him none at all. I just let him say anything he wanted to. I said, "What was your what the heckers? What surprised you?" He said that number 1 went from last place all the way to first place to win a race.
Yeah.
It was a good
I was like,
impersonation of your 6-year-old, by the way. Good job.
yeah. I was like, holy crap. I mean, he's all in.
Yeah, no, I mean, you have to give it up at that point, right? Like,
Yeah, 100%.
hands down.
Ricky?
Well, listen, you saw me celebrating in the background. You know I'm a bit of a closet Ross Chastain fan from
In the
where-
closet.
All right, I'm out of the
You're smashing watermelons.
You're right. I'm out of the closet. Listen, it's exactly what Chris said. He says shady plus clean for that pass for the win. I say there's a difference between the old Chastain who finally stepped across the line when Mr. H and Jeff Gordon said, stop wrecking our race cars, right? And then he kind of retracted a bit, found himself again. And this Ross Chastain, I won't use shady. I'll use racecraft in the closing laps where this type of passing and getting close and moving some drivers around is long time accepted. 100% checkers to Chastain.
He had a little help from the 11. That's my shady part.
Yeah, that's true.
That's my shady part.
Okay, that's true.
Chastain
right.
pass was clean. The shady from the 11.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then I retract my statement.
Let me clear that up.
Chris and I are both 100% Chastain then, Chad.
All right. Well,
what do you got? What do you got, Chad? Talk to us.
My checkers was the military tribute at the track. Absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
Those guys do an A+ job at Charlotte every Memorial Day. But being there in person, this was my first 600. It was really cool to see. Top-notch job. That's my checkers.
That was a good deal. They always do a good job out there. You know, they put on a good show to show the love and support for our armed forces, and you know, hats off for that. That's a good checkers. Absolutely.
And just to add to that, Ross actually carrying the photo of the guy, in the car with him of the soldier.
Got to know the story.
I didn't realize that, but
he pulled it out of the door.
He got to know the story personally. He really embraced it. Not that other drivers maybe didn't do the same, but Chad's 100% spot on that. Let me add, just for added emphasis and an exclamation mark on your checkers, when they play taps, tears in my eyes. When they bring the cars in at halfway and shut them down and do the moment of silence, and the teams stand on the pit wall, dude, my knees were shaking, tears in my eyes. Love it.
Yeah. They do a fantastic job of showing the support and love.
Yeah.
Love it.
And just getting to experience all that with my wife, my little boy, the whole, just checkers the whole way. Like
you made some good memories, my friend. You made some good memories that weekend.
His eyes were just so big, and we got him this little, like, it's almost like a little kid's GoPro for Christmas, and he was just taking pictures of everything. We went by the garage and he saw Kyle Larson's car and he's just going crazy. He saw the hauler and he's just going crazy, and the Goodyear blimp just over and over and over again. And then we went, during the race, we went up to the, I think I sent you a picture, Chris. We went up to the track and he saw Kyle Larson driving by and he was just going crazy. And we went to the Wood Brothers hauler before the race, and he got to hang out with the Wood Brothers and all that. And he was just soaking it up. Just so cool. So just that's my checkers. All right, let's talk some wreckers. Rick, give me some wreckers.
This one I don't think is going to match anybody. My wreckers goes to Kyle Larson and the effort on doing the double. And listen, it's not all pointed at Larson. It's just, all the hype, all the buildup. And, then Indy gets rain again. And all of a sudden it's, oh my God, Kyle can only stay till 4:08 p.m. and blah, blah, blah. Then he winds up wrecking at Indy, getting on the plane, coming back to Charlotte. And what's he do at Charlotte? He's in the wall, and he's wrecking. And all I'm saying is this. If you really want to do the double, then there should be some cooperation between the head of Indy, which, oh, by the way, I think that's Roger Penske, and NASCAR, and let's spread those start times out. Like, I can personally tell you, because I had stuff to do with our driver, that up until 12:30 local, the Indy 500 had not started. And Indy's on the same time zone with us. Right. Okay, you put another hour in there, and maybe these doubles can be more of a marketable commodity. But as it is now, it seems like it turns into a train wreck. That's my wreckers, no pun intended, on the train wreck.
Well, and this is the first year that you probably could have done that, because you're not on a network anymore. You're on Amazon, who can do it whenever they want to. And they proved it. They came on an hour and a half before the race started. They turned the cameras on. First of all, that broadcast, the Amazon broadcast, is next level.
Stop. Don't be stealing stuff that I still got in my notes. Keep going.
Hold on. Hold that thought there.
Exactly. Exactly. Don't ruin it for us. Come on.
So this is the first year they could have done that, because you could not have done that with NBC or Fox, because they have those time slots, and it's going to be what it's going to be. Or they're going to move it to FS1 or FS2 or whatever it's going to be. But with Amazon, they can do whatever they want to. There is no hard in or hard out.
I'm not saying back up the Coke 600. Why couldn't Indy have gone green flag at 11:30?
Yeah, I mean, again, but Indy is on Fox.
Okay,
so you're on.
They had something important on in the 11:30 slot.
No, I'm just saying. I'm saying. Yeah.
What'd you say?
Church.
But you also
mess up the blessing blocking.
But you also have the Monaco Grand Prix that morning. So,
which went green flag at 9 a.m. and their races are like an hour and a half long.
Yeah.
Next.
No, I'm just saying.
Next.
You're dealing with network TV, which is different than streaming.
I'm just saying, I was disappointed. That's my record.
That's fair. All right, Chris.
My record was actually the prime broadcast for Charlotte. I didn't think it was that polished. I think there was a lot of things that were mishaps on the first go around there for that 600. Moving forward, like, never mind. But it's the first broadcast for that, the prime. I don't think it was that polished. You had mics on and people not ready. Like, it was. You can tell it was the first go at it.
You and Chad in opposition. Wow. Love it. Next.
I thought it was great.
Yeah.
My wreckers was Denny's crew not getting the fuel in the car on the last green flag pit stop.
I could see it.
And
that was my part two of that. If I had to,
him having to come back down, because I thought there was a chance that he could have been the guy to give Byron the run. So that's my record.
Yeah, he had a fast car. He had a rocket ship.
What the heckers?
My what the heckers is Bubba Wallace. And here's why. The E35, he's had a bad stretch of racing.
Oof.
So that's 3 in a row where he has finished 33rd or worse.
Oof.
Just saying.
Yep.
Just
Rick?
saying.
And I'll just add, I think he's a different Bubba Wallace.
Absolutely.
Because of the birth of his son, and I'm not saying that's why the bad finishes, but at least he's not getting out of the car and constantly beating the hell out of himself on national TV.
Replace the driver.
Maybe he goes home and there's a smiling child waiting for him regardless of how they ran.
Right.
That's my thing on Bubba. My what the heck is going to be a funny one. It's not going to match anybody. What the heck, Mother Nature? You gave us a break. Did it not rain? Like biblical. Up to during the week. Yes, during the week.
Yeah.
We get the race in and we can have our checkers and our wreckers and whatever, but we raced that night on time, no race delays. And what did we have for our efforts the very next day when we tried to enjoy friends and family for Memorial Day? Go ahead, Chris.
Biblical downpours.
Yes.
But it was incredible at the racetrack.
Thank
It was
you.
not hot. It was not
No.
rainy.
What the heck,
It
Mother
was not
Nature?
humid.
Thanks for giving us a break. What the heck, Mother Nature? Go.
Perfect night for racing.
Thank
Absolutely.
you.
That's probably the first time in 8 years we didn't have a rain delay, I think.
Thank you.
Yeah, mine was the luck of Larson. We've already covered that.
Yeah.
Chris.
Yeah.
Tries to run the double, has not one, but double the fun on accidents.
Yeah.
Terrible.
My little boy said for his what the heckers, or for his wreckers. I said, what was your wreckers? And he said, that Tal Larson tipped retin.
Tipped reckon.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was bad.
Chris, you got a what the heckers?
That was my hecker.
Oh,
What the heck?
sorry.
He was there.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that wraps up Charlotte. Thanks for hanging out with us. And we'll talk Nashville next time.
So I went
Sorry,
wide open, hoping for a little taste.